Hey everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 3. It's the final video of this report for Friday, November 8th, 2013. Alright, I'm going to cover Haarp, and I'm going to get into some environmental news. Haarp status North America. This was from 11/8, November 8th today. The current long-wave frequency magnitude readings. It's not bad, actually. I mean, wish we didn't have this at all, that we didn't have to cover this, but it says here that it's pretty low for the East Coast, and dead in the center, and it's low medium out to the West Coast. And there's the building frequency, which the brown would be gradually instead of fast. So we're talking about the Pacific Northwest, and that damage reported. This is Thursday's front. Damaging storm front slammed the Pacific Northwest on Thursday, bringing damage to northwest Oregon and southwestern Washington. It says the winds raced downward from the squall line complex Thursday morning. It says, be it known, I got a lot of flack on my Facebook page from calling severe weather in northwestern Oregon throughout southwestern Washington, but it panned out. Then to the East Coast, they call it a nor'easter. It says the East Coast snowstorm likely to be moved out to sea. So maybe they're pushing it out to sea? Who knows? One thing that we do know, because we can visually see it, is the amount of aerosols. This was, a lot of you will see this on Saturday. This was for you yesterday. For today, Friday, it's early morning right there. You could just see all of these aerosols and how they're being pushed in that front that they're creating in Texas, Mexico, and then out in basically the half of the western part of the country. So, and then by evening, it's all being pushed actually over towards the east. And this is Friday night. This is overnight into Saturday. And Saturday, and you can see it kind of cleared out on the east coast, but the west is still has a lot. And then the part over Mexico moved east. Sometimes it's good just to pause this and take a look at it, or go to weatherspace.com for the chemtrail forecast. But yeah, the whole west coast, they must just keep spraying and spraying and spraying, and it just stretches all the way from coast to coast in the central part of the country. And of course, here in the south, lots of nasty aerosols, and the whole state of Florida. So, and you see all the rain that we've been getting too. At least in the Midwest, we have a lot of rain, man. And it's chemrain is what it is. It's the slow drizzle. That's what we all know. It's the infamous sign, the slow drizzle rain. It rains for 30 hours at a time. In October and November, a super typhoon has slammed the Philippines. There's deaths and massive damage reported. More than 700,000 people are evacuated from the storm's path. And there's a picture of it right there. So who knows if it's natural or what they're doing over here as any impact. I would imagine it does on global climate. Like when they spray all these aerosols, these chemtrails, that stuff's up there for years. It's not just for that day to spray over you. They just go out there and spray, and it gets moved. It's about keeping it up in the atmosphere. All-time record has been set for the warmest fall in Russia, in Moscow. Experts said that Tuesday night was the hottest ever recorded in Moscow during the fall season. Temperatures in Moscow typically hover around freezing point by November. So, but the weather has been atypically warm this year, they say. Then a warm fall weather likely to continue. So far, autumn has been warmer and wetter than normal in the local area, and it looks like mild weather will continue as November starts out. They saw an average high temperature in September of 70 degrees, which is about 2.5 degrees above normal. NASA released global temperature data showing that September tied with 2003 in the fourth warmest September on record, with an average global temperature of 67 degrees. And it doesn't really matter what the exact location, it's just it gives you an idea. Here in the U.S., Lambert, wherever that is, October was quite a bit warmer than usual, with an overall average temperature for the month nearly 4 degrees higher than normal. Meteorologist said it was definitely warmer than normal. Says the warmest day was on October 6th when the temperature reached 79 degrees. And of course that comes with precipitation, right? 4 inches fell in October, approximately 0.7 inches above the normal rainfall for the month. Alaskans experienced warmest October on record from November 1st. Usually in Alaska, now is the time where snowpack starts to build and temperatures plunge as the days become shorter and shorter. But this year, October has turned out to be more like September with rainstorms instead of snowstorms. Some of the mildest temperatures on record for the month, particularly across interior Alaska. And this is the stuff that we see, propaganda that we see in the mainstream news. What the world would look like if all the ice melted from National Geographic. So it's going to scare you. Florida's gone. Maybe that's what they're trying to do, right? All Florida was covered in chemtrails, so just go away, Florida. Snakes the size of school buses and horses the size of house cats. It happened before. It could happen again. So, it says this may exist again if future temperatures warm. So, just keep on spraying and pulsing the ionosphere and cooking it, and maybe we'll get these. Giant snakes. So, if not, if they can't do it by with tinkering with the weather, then maybe they could just continue to tinker with genetics and just create a woolly mammoth or just make them however they want, right? Train carrying crude oil derails. So another derailment of these oil cars coming from, I believe it was the tar sands. It says here, 90-car train carrying North Dakota crude derailed and exploded in a rural area of western Alabama early on Friday, leaving 11 cars burning and potentially bolstering the push for tougher regulation of a boom in moving oil by rail. An unstoppable, what does that mean? Pipelines? I don't know. An unstoppable oil leak is flowing in Alberta. This was from almost August of this year. Canada. Tar sands oil spills on Arkansas town. This was from April 2013. And it was flowing for, I think, a couple of days there. A lot. I think I even read something recently about some guy in North Dakota. His farm was covered in oil or something like that. They said they would compensate him for it. This website, oilsandtruth.org. I'm not sure when this article was, but it was probably a month or two ago. But they actually had like a third recent spill due to these things in Alberta. In other words, it's been a bad couple of months for an industry trying to win over public opinion for two major pipelines proposed to traverse British Columbia. So the dizzying succession of spills has seriously complicated what was a tough sell to begin with. But you won't know it from the stream of public relations BS flowing from Alberta politicians and industry reps in yesterday's journal story. So I'm going to keep moving here. Moving on to another crazy scenario. TEPCO in Fukushima, they prepared to remove nuclear fuel from Fukushima power plant. So they're going to remove these fuel rods or whatever it is. And I covered this before. They are actually looking for people who are willing to work for low pay and high risk. And I saw this article. Japanese company raises wages at Fukushima plant. So it must be getting pretty bad. But help wanted in Fukushima, low pay, high risk, and gangstas. This individual went to Fukushima, took a job at Ground Zero, the worst nuclear disaster since Chernobyl. He lasted less than 2 weeks. So, but he was told that he would have to wear an oxygen tank and a double-layer protective suit. Even then, his handlers told him the radiation would be so high it would burn through his annual exposure limit in just under an hour. He said he felt cheated and trapped. He said, I didn't agree to any of this. So he was fired for bringing it up. Then his new employer skimmed almost a third of his wages, about $1,500 a month, at a second job at Fukushima, and paid him the rest in a cash in a brown paper envelope. So after coming under criticism for his handling of a cleanup effort, the operator of Japan's crippled Fukushima nuclear plant says it will double the pay of contract workers at the station, increase from $100 to $200 a day. Genetically engineered trees under USDA consideration could harm environment, says a report. The USDA considers whether to authorize the unrestricted planting of GMO eucalyptus trees. Experts are warning that such a policy would not only be unnatural but negatively impact the environment. It's being developed by ArborGen, a biotech company that's met with protests in recent months. They want to provide materials to create paper and the wood pellets that fuel power plants around the world. And gummy bears, pharmaceutical drugs, and vaccines are made out of people. Kind of messed up, but it says that gelatin made from human DNA fragments is already being used in pharmaceutical drugs and vaccines, and scientists believe that the recent breakthroughs will soon make it feasible to use gelatin in consumer products such as gummy bears, marshmallows on a massive scale. And they say it's jaw-dropping, the breakthrough that's been hailed as a landmark in a fight against hereditary diseases. This CRISPR technique heralds genetic revolution. So it's going to help people with HIV and cancer and sickle cell anemia. But what does it actually imply? It says here that it's created intense excitement among DNA experts who believe that the discovery will transform their ability to edit the genomes of all living organisms, including humans. For the first time, they've been able to engineer any part of a human genome with extreme precision using a new technique called CRISPR, which has been likened to editing the individual letters on any chosen page of an encyclopedia without creating spelling mistakes. Crazy story here. This is a local news affiliate. A hospital staff member is classifying a child as a loser for lack of getting a vaccine. I guess this is probably in South Carolina. The Palmetto Health took swift action against a staff member who left a note in a child's room classifying him a loser because they would not be vaccinated. After the initial screening and overall checkout of the child, it says we found out he had a temperature of 101. The doctor came in and wrote a prescription for the fever and ordered an x-ray. The nurse came in and left this note on the table that read 235. It says the room need to fix, or FX, fever, 0 immunizations, loser. It says this kind of inappropriate behavior is unacceptable and unprofessional. The family said they chose not to vaccinate 2 of their 3 children after researching the ingredients of vaccination. So human DNA and stuff, all kinds of crap. Taliban's ban on polio vaccine in Pakistan puts global eradication at risk. So you're probably, this was a month ago, but it's still in the news now. This is recently. Europe warned as Middle East gears up for mass vaccination after Syria polio outbreak. So all of a sudden, these foreign jihadists are responsible for bringing in polio in Syria. Actually, it's not just that. It's the jihadists themselves that are seizing towns and not allowing supplies to get in. And when Red Cross and different types of NGOs try to go in there to help with medicine or whatever, they can't get anything through. They'll kill them. Remember, I was talking about 31 workers were killed overall. I think this in the past year or the whole time. So they're bringing it in and they're making it worse. That's if that's the case. Who knows? I mean, with a virus and stuff like that, there doesn't even have to be an actual virus. There just has to be a threat of virus. Then you can start quarantining or vaccinating by force or whatever. I remember recently Assad was asking for the UN to basically give him tanks and more support to carry these chemical weapons that they got rid of securely. So maybe if they just didn't support terrorism, and there wouldn't be an outbreak, and they wouldn't have to worry about Europe getting hit with mass polio. So maybe if they didn't create refugees that went in there, they're all in there now in Europe. So many of you probably had this before. Mexican Coke, probably because it doesn't have high fructose corn syrup, instead it has sugar cane. It says here that they're ditching cane sugar for high fructose corn syrup in Mexico, so no more of that. Even though a lot of the sugar cane is actually made from GMO sugar beets, so it's like, like everything else, you go from one thing to another. They never let up. Can sugar tax help Mexico's obesity epidemic? This is from November 4th. You probably heard of this. They're going to tax sugar to help Mexico's obesity epidemic. So has it helped here in high fructose corn syrup land, USA? Where sugar's already been overtaxed, and that's why it's more expensive. That's why these companies put it in the drinks. They also put it in the foods as a preservative. No, it's not. It's actually just going to get people away from natural raw sugar and move them towards high fructose corn syrup. And then people that are already producing sugar are going to go to GMO sugar. And then they'll be like, you got to cut down your sugar. It's like, well, I'm not actually having regular sugar anymore. And then it'll be like, we got to go to like diet stuff where you have aspartame. Cargill Beef Corporation will label products containing pink slime as FTB, finely textured beef. Also, if they have GMO ingredients. Then you have this, dad called unfit by a psychiatrist for denying his son McDonald's. They're suing the psychiatrist over the designation. In Oregon, schools are going to limit students to walking or running around a track at recess, so no more free play. Just 86, a marathon runner dies a day after the race. The person actually responsible for inspiring the marathon in ancient Greece, he actually fell down and died after doing it. Thank you.